I've been working on for 5 months, so I didn't start this weekend, but I was using the hackathon to just like bang out a bunch of tasks I needed to do. And I think I did okay. So I built out my little Kanban board this weekend. So done stuff I did this weekend, as well as everything in progress paused and blocked. I wanted to show you guys some fun stuff that happened. I hired someone on Fiverr to make me a trippy logo for Telesom. Before I get into it, Telesom is boutique wine experiences for wine professionals to sell these experiences to people at home, you know, wine lovers or whatever. So this is what she came up with. It makes me feel a little queasy. I'm probably not going to use it, but I love it otherwise. And then I also hired someone on Fiverr to translate this like emailer that I'm trying to work on to get people, how do you set up your house for a virtual wine tasting? And so this person came up with this, which looks super nice, but I feel like it's too like clean. So some of my work this weekend has been about like brand and branding stuff. I spruced up the website a little bit. It still needs work, but I feel like if I go in once a month and like clean it up and fix links and do stuff, it'll be okay. I added a bunch of testimonials, which I've heard are important. So there they are. But I added the ability to open the app from the website. And I'm not going to actually show you this view because this is a bug. It shouldn't let you go in. There's a password. So you guys will see this other version of the Telesom website. So basically, these are all the wine professionals you could use. Say you're interested in like wines from Oregon. Let's say you're interested in wines from Napa. So it's a full text search there. Let's say you're only interested in getting a tasting from a master sommelier. You don't want any of those like low lives, just regular songs. So you can filter that way through the app. Let's say you're drawn towards Katerina. You can read up about her. You can go look at her links, and she has like live stream and Instagram, all this stuff. Check her time zone, because virtually, right, time zones are now more of a thing for us. And then you could look at what tastings Katerina has available on the app, and you can book. So let's say you've always wanted to know more about Calabria wines, and Katerina's like in Italy, so it sounds like a good deal to you. And then when you're ready to check out, you can check out here. And I spent a lot of time today and yesterday working on some of the UI around the tastings to make it look a little prettier. And then a bunch of things were broken in terms of my checkout capability. So I finally got those fixed just before our meeting, which felt pretty good. And so I wrote in the Telesom Discord channel, but I guess I'll just tell everyone here, like I'm not a programmer. So I'm using a fully no-code stack. So this is Glide apps, which you can build apps, they say, in 5 minutes. I'm working on this for 5 months. With the Google Sheet, I'm using like Zapier and what else? Just a lot of other stuff. I wanted to show you guys Calendly if I had a few minutes, and it looks like I do. So now everyone's like trying to schedule meetings. My life is a lot about scheduling meetings, like my day life. And I've become obsessed with Calendly. So this is one of the SOMs that I'm working with. She hooked up her availability. I hooked up mine. So right now I can see she has time available, but I don't. But let's say I go to Thursday, I could book a tasting with her at 1 p.m. on a Thursday. Okay, now let's check what I have to do after that. Oh, nothing. So it's just a cool tool. And so now I'm trying to build integrations where you can book, pay, launch your Zoom, get your emails, get your intake forms, all this stuff through Calendly and Glide. So that's where I'm at this weekend. And I want to thank everyone who worked to put this together. I know it's a lot of work and I really appreciate it. It just helps me like hustle on stuff I need to do. And it's really cool to see what other people are doing. So I can't wait to hear about everyone else's work for the weekend. Thanks.
I guess if people have questions.
Well, I'll jump in first. Hey, Vanessa, I was kind of interested in, and thank you for going first. I think it's always brave to be sort of presenting out on this stuff. So thank you for going first, sharing what you've got going on. Seems really cool. Can you talk a little bit about what you did this weekend though, specifically? So, you mentioned sort of 5 months of pre-work that goes into that. But you talked a bit about working with a couple of folks on Fiverr. Was there integration of any of that design stuff into your final apps? And then did you actually build out any of the app through that software this weekend?
No, I was just like consulting with them on the brand stuff I want, like palette, like other tweaks and stuff like that. So in the app, I was fixing the way that the tastings look. I was fixing some broken links, like my Stripe account was like broken. So I had to talk to the Glide people to figure out what to do with that. Let's see, I had to get my bank account. So all my financials were broken. I had to port over, like I bought a new domain because I changed the name of the company. Used to be an E at the end, but that wasn't cool. So now there's no E. I had to go through and change that everywhere as well as in the domain. So just like random cleanup tasks for the most part.
Thank you.
I just had one question, if you were done, Nigel.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Maybe I missed this. On this app, it says booking experiences, tastings, and all that. You don't buy the wine itself. You have to buy that separately, but they recommend what to buy and all that.
Yeah, they tell you what to buy, and then buying wine in the United States is complicated. So there's no easy button for that. Yeah.
Okay, I was making sure. I didn't notice if it like hooked you up with a distributor as well. Might be something cool in the future. You're going to continue.
It would be
this project.
Great. There's legal
I don't know if that's a doable
ramifications. Yeah, that I am not ready to jump that hurdle yet.
I'll jump in with a question for you here, Vanessa. As far as the bookings and the business that you've got, you've obviously been working on this for many months and have been thinking about the business model. Is this kind of a strictly post-COVID thing essentially, or have you found ways to pivot what you're building to kind of work within the confines we're under now?
This actually came up during the pandemic. So I started thinking about this in March, and it really is to allow sommeliers to have a business and make money during the pandemic. But we're finding that people would still want to do it after the pandemic. Of course, like time will tell if that's true. But I think it could be pandemic and after.
Thanks.
All right, that's all the questions we have time for. Thanks, Vanessa. That was awesome. Next, we have Key Perry and Caitlin.
So, hey, so a quick bit of background on this project real fast. So I initially created this for Startup Weekend USA earlier this year, and it wasn't meant to be part of Startup Weekend. It was just something. So this is a Discord bot that collects metrics for you on your Discord server. And so I had created it for Startup Weekend so that the people running it would be able to get an idea of their turnout and how the event was going. And after the event, Chris Perillo, who is a community manager at Intel, reached out to me and asked if I wanted to make this an actual product. We ended up not going too far with it, but I did have the back end for it, and for the hackathon, I wanted to make the rest of the front end. So the user interface is all made today. So, all right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right, so this is what the original interface looked like. It uses Datadog, and it's not super flexible, but it does what I wanted it to do. But while I was working with Chris, I wanted to be able to make a product that would be branded and could be controlled user access and stuff. And so I ended up, this is what I made over the weekend. So on the landing page, it's just a quick graph of how many users the bot has an eye on right now. So currently it looks like there are 14,000 users that the bot knows of. Then if you go ahead and log in, you can view all the different servers that you are a manager of. And when you go into the view of the server, you can see the specific statistics for that server. So We can see the message activity down here for the Dev Alliance Hackathon server, and we can see when people have been most active. And if we wanted, we can see message edits and deletes too, though there's not near as many there. And then up here we have user status, so we can see that now that the presentations have started, we have more people online than we have most of the other time. So, and I want to be able to add more statistics to this in the future. This is just what I was able to get done over the weekend. So, and I think that's all I have for the presentation. Anything else for me? Any questions?
I've got one for you that's interesting. Is there an API that you're hooked into to pull that stuff, or is everything, including the dashboard, already sort of part of Discord?
This is all, so I created a Discord bot that you invite to your server, and then once you invite it to your server, it starts tracking all these metrics within a database, and then it's all aggregated and displayed on my end. So all of this has been all stuff that I put together.
Cool.
Yeah, one. Oh, sorry. Good. So I was going to say, what were future things that you wanted to include? The same things you had on the previous version, and what were some future ideas as far as statistics and metrics?
So I want to get user retention in there, so how long users stay on the server. And then I also want to be able to get voice channel statistics, since there are a lot of Discord servers that are voice heavy. So just how long people are in voice channels, how many people use the voice channels, and things like that.
So, Caitlin, obviously I've seen a bit of this before back earlier this year, and I'm kind of interested in what was done this weekend. I mean, so you've moved things over using different graphing platforms behind the scenes to draw these out. So before you said you're using Datadog, are you still using that? I didn't quite understand like what the technology effort was this weekend.
So this weekend, I made the entire front end, which included the graphing, the user authentication with Discord, and a CSS basic framework. And then what I had done prior was just the collection of the metrics within InfluxDB. So all of what you actually saw presented today was done today.
Thank you.
Hey, I'd like to know why you're tracking these statistics and what you're using them for.
So they were initially created. So the very first statistics I made were for the UAF computer science group. And it was just a cool side project so we could see how many people were being active on the server. Then when I moved that over to the startup weekend, it was so that the organizers would be able to see what the turnout of the server was and what the activity looked like. And once Chris reached out to me after that event, it was geared more towards content creators and media companies so that they would be able to, like with websites, you have Google Analytics and other analytics platforms that you can see how that's performing. But with Discord, up until recently, there wasn't a great way to see how your community was performing. So this was meant to fill that gap.
I see. Thank you.
Let me just say that's really cool, and I want to use it. Is it available somewhere?
As of 24 minutes ago, when I finally got it deployed on my server, yes, it is available.
And is it like a GitHub thing, or would we'd use your infrastructure?
You would use my infrastructure for it right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. That's super fun. I did see you had the CS server on there, so that's awesome. So next we have Tensor Randos and John Buren presenting.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. We were utilizing the little late start to push some of our code live, putting the link in the description. It's tensorrando.com. And what we have done is we've made a Simon Says game and redistributed it as Cody Says, who is the mascot for us. If I can go ahead and share my screen, show you what it looks like for those of you who are not connected. This is some of the code over there. But on the screen here, what we have is tensorrando.com, loads the game. You have to click the power button to start it. This was retrofitted from an older JavaScript project, and it's in React. So it's written in React. It's hosted on Netlify with Netlify functions. The back end is Airtable. And so you have to click start. And once it starts playing, we're going for a high score here. So I made most of this front end. Brandon came in with the last second to make the different sounds. So when you fail, if you're not in strict mode, you can keep playing and practicing. But if you are in strict mode, you'll lose. And when that happens, you get the game over screen. It tells you what your score was. And the score is only as far as the last one that you got. So the count is kind of like how many beats there are. And the score is how far you had gotten. So it's usually 1 minus. But it does go and it checks Airtable to see if you are in the top high scores list. And if you're not, then it doesn't matter. But there was a little bit of a back-end database issue where the name, I couldn't get it to update for some reason. And so everyone's named Cody, but your score is sufficient. I really like how the noises came together, and especially one for Halloween, we got a spooky version. So it resets every time you click your sounds, but as long as you turn power, when you see the little dot button on Cody's belly, you know that you're live and you can press start. So that's the game. We also have, besides a high score list, we have posts that are populated in Airtable as well with links with problems that we ran into, and they basically describe like what we searched for via Stack Overflow and everything like that. So yeah, if you guys want to play, see who gets the high score by the end of the day. It was more of a sense of working in React, working with Airtable, working with Netlify functions, and how to get that all integrated. We wanted to implement like some kind of OAuth, so we get JSON web tokens going and have that more. You can sign in and that's your username, but we didn't quite get there. We ran out of time. There's always like CSS issues. I wouldn't want to play this on my mobile right now without using like a desktop view, but it works and I'm proud of it. So are there any questions?
Hey, congrats, John. Always fun to sort of see a game come out and sort of get put together. So I guess my sort of immediate question here is, you mentioned that there was already sort of a library that you were using that had the underlying sort of Simon Says code and pieces there. So trying to understand, is the majority of the work that you've done sort of putting a UI on top of that, or what existed? What do you do this weekend?
Yeah, so the game existed in plain old JavaScript, but we all know that there's listeners and stuff that cannot be ported exactly. So there was a lot of putting that in and around it. The framework is self-React, so the game is a React component, and then we have these other versions around. So all this code, like our GitHub went up on Friday and started pushing. So we did kind of just hack some things together. The logic for the game, it's well established and many people have done it. I wasn't going to spend any time trying to redo that, but there was making that plain old JavaScript into the React flavor. So.
And then, I think the sound effects, by the way, makes the game. So I'm really glad you put those in, because it's a huge deal.
Yeah, big ups to Brandon Momsen for that one. That was his project, and he came in with it, and we got it live. So.
That's great. What would you do next if you were to continue developing it? What would sort of be some of the next things you'd like to work on?
Yeah, user profiles, of course, and that would definitely help with some authentication and just be backed up so that everyone can play it. So kids can play this. And then also working on like better stylings, I guess, and also different views. So 4K, 1080, cell phone, all that stuff. They're always running into issues with sizing, resizing stuff. But it works on my machine and it works on yours because it's live, but it works better in like a 4K environment.
Very cool, John. A question about your workflow. You mentioned starting to commit code on Friday. Did you have a complete team you were working with?
No, I just worked with Brandon Momsen. So he kind of he had his own branch. Netlify does allow A/B testing so that you could have like separate branches being published on the back end to kind of see like test out different flavorings. And we experimented with that, but it quickly moved from the way we use branches is just to develop a feature and then we kind of move on. But so that branch is no longer there, but you can have like a test kind of server, which it does help out. And I've done that in the past as well.
Cool.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, thank you for your time. Please check out tensorrando.com and play that game. So Cody says, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Next, we have Concave and Jeremy Smartwood.
Swartwood.
Sorry.
So ours was collision detection, and let me see if I can present it. Sure. Intersection collision detection algorithm, ICE, working name. So the whole point of this is that you're trying to have two different polygons and you want to be able to see when they overlap, when they collide. And there's a bunch of different options. Typically, one of the common options is using the separated access theorem. And we'll talk a little bit about how that works. But one of the things that we're thinking about in that is efficiency, and there's a few other topics further on. So what is separated access theorem first? So it's this idea that you have two different polygons in two-dimensional space, and then if you were to essentially project the shadows of those against a plane, so here's no overlapping on the q-axis and nothing is overlapping on, or there is overlapping rather on the p-axis. So you see that over here, these points are overlapping right here in the middle, but on the other plane, there's no overlapping. So the separated access theorem would first check to see if on this plane, are these boxes overlapping? They're not. Then it would check to see, well, actually it would stop at that point because it has a short circuit built into it. But the next question is, well, why not just use that? Why are we even talking about looking at alternatives? Here's the issue. So the separated access theorem only works on convex polygons. If you have concavity, if you have two polygons and one of them is a concave polygon, then you don't actually get the ability to know that these aren't touching because there's an apparent overlap in the shadows, even though they're not touching. So the solution is this working name, intersection collision detection. I'm just pronouncing it ICE right now. These are screenshots just showing visually the collision detection working. And when I go into the demo, I'll show you why and how it works. So over here on the left, you can see that there's two different polygons, one black, one white. The blue is just a single vertice that is being sampled. And over on this side, we have the other polygon, and it's detecting that there's a collision. And if I click, it's still detecting collisions. Well, actually, I guess it's not detecting any collisions. I'm sorry. It's just saying corner. I couldn't even read it. So here now it's detecting that there's a collision happening, that this point is now inside this other object. And then the same thing happens through the other, and we can detect that there's collisions happening. So when they don't collide, if I cycle through all of them, there is no collision being shown. This over here is just showing you that with the separated axis theorem, the common way to handle a concave shape is to split it up into multiple convex shapes. But that drastically increases the number of calculations that you have to do to detect whether or not they're colliding. Here's some analysis that we did, timings. So we didn't think we were going to be able to beat it, but we actually ended up being faster than the separated axis theorem on random convex positioning. So just randomly putting two polygons somewhere on the screen. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. If they always overlap, ours consistently beats SAT drastically. And then if they're basically about the same if they never overlap. And then there's a situation where if we're using a concave polygon and we force it to be converted into multiple convex polygons, which we don't have to do because our algorithm works the exact same, doesn't matter if it's concave or convex, this actually ends up being way worse. So, questions?
Question about the algorithm. In terms of overlap, would it be possible to, sort of make an ordered list of all of the points of potential intersection between your polygons, or is that just computationally more expensive?
I'm not sure what you're asking, but can you order points? Yes.
Right. So I'm wondering, is there a simpler form than using either of those two methods that you were laying out by simply, making a list of all coordinates that are sort of drawn on a polygon and then looking for any common coordinates with another polygon?
Well, so you only have the points themselves, and so like even when they're colliding right here, none of these points are quote unquote overlapping. The points themselves aren't touching each other. So just using the points wouldn't be able to do anything.
Right. I wasn't suggesting using the points, but literally all the ones that are lit up in white or red.
The segments.
Those two shapes. Yeah, exactly. The coordinates of everything along the segment.
Gotcha. So that's basically what we're doing. We're looking to see where two lines are intersecting.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess the question was, is your method computationally more efficient than just comparing lists of all the coordinates of all points on those segments?
So the separated axis theorem is what's used in Box 2D, which is used in tons of game engines. So I don't know. There aren't any other algorithms that I've seen that are better than SAT. That's why we were surprised we were able to get numbers that were better.
Yeah, Jeremy, you've talked about that during this weekend, and I appreciate this. I think this is great to have a demo, and it definitely helps visualize what you're trying to do. So, question for you would be around the kind of the competition in the sense that there is other physics engines out there. I've definitely seen stuff where you've had concave objects that kind of can intersect and bump off each other, as it were, and they can figure that out. So it sort of looks like it'd be really hard to do. So what you're saying they do is they always break them up into convex, distinct parts. Is that what you're saying? That's how they get around that?
Yeah. So usually a concave polygon is split before, like you would do that pre-process, and you wouldn't do that live at the time. So you'd have this shape here, and it might not even be the shape that I was showing, right? Maybe they would actually cut it right here.
Yeah.
And they'd make one big polygon there, and then make a triangle. It would efficiently do it. This was just to demonstrate that, but they pre-process the conversion from concave to convex, and then you would have only convex collision detection going on.
So you said that you've been thinking about this for a while. I caught one of the check-ins recently. You've been thinking about it for a while. So this weekend, obviously, you got out this demo and shown something works and got some interesting sort of comparative results. And by the way, I want to congratulate you on presenting it with a slide deck. I find it really a lot easier to follow with a slide deck. There's definitely, I don't know if it's in our judging criteria, but there should be some bonus points for just putting together things with a explanatory slide deck with some background. It really helps sometimes with this type of stuff. Cool. Then. But going forward, where would you go next with this project? What are we doing next?
We still had a few ideas on ways to even optimize it a bit further.
Sure.
And then from there, it's kind of just maybe doing large number analysis and possibly even running it through the actual implementation, because we implemented SAT in Python so that we could kind of compare apples to apples we didn't do any sort of. We made sure that we weren't doing parallelism on our algorithm while not doing parallelism on the other one. We didn't do any we tried to make sure we were comparing apples to apples in our tests.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
can you say a little bit more about what the algorithm is? Because are you taking each vertex of one polygon and seeing if it's inside the other polygon?
So it's actually I'm gonna pull up Paint because it's easier to show
between line segments.
So it's actually this old game that I remember seeing once. I'm just going to explain it like that. So you have one polygon, and we'll just use a single point instead of using multiple. So if you wanted to check to see if a point was inside or outside of this, there was this old game you could check to see if something was inside or outside of a giant swirl. And you literally just count the number of segments. So this point here is outside because it passes through 2 segments. This is only passing through 1 segment right here, so it is inside.
But you're only checking the winding number on the vertices.
Sorry, what?
So this is winding number checking, and that's I totally get that. But you check the winding number of the vertices of the other polygon.
I don't know what winding number means.
That's what you've drawn here. So you count the number of intersections from a point out to infinity along an array. I guess we're out of time here. Actually, if you can stop sharing, I've got a little picture to put in your head.
Okay.
Let me see if this will work. Right. So you can have 2 polygons that intersect, but none of their vertices are contained in the other one. Does it work for this?
Yes. It also works if one of them is wholly contained within the other one.
How does it work if you're checking only the winding number on vertices?
So I don't want to blow past everybody else's, but I can come back to it if we have time afterwards, Arsh, if you want. I don't know what my timing is.
Yeah, we should have time afterwards. You can also hop on a Discord voice chat with the judges if they want to chat with you more while they're judging. All right. Yep. Thanks, Jeremy. That was interesting. Next, we have Smart Sandbox VR and Tyler. Are you online?
Hello. All right. Can you guys hear me? Oh, wait, hold on. I can't hear.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm on a team with Matt Perry and James Ryan, and our goal this weekend was really just to learn how to use VR and make a game in VR. So our idea was to just make a sandbox where we can make tools or things to play around with and figure out how to make that work. So it's more of just like a learning experiment, figure out like how to teleport and stuff like that. We used a game engine called Godot. It's like Unity and Unreal, but it uses a language called Godot script, which is very Python-esque. And I guess I can do a demo if I can figure out how to do this. Is that working?
Yep.
Cool. So James is currently wearing the headset, and I guess I can full screen this. So that purple cylinder is like the teleporting area that you're going to go to. And you're able to use the joysticks to move around, and you're able to turn. And we have two objects that we made. We made a sword, which lets you hit other objects and move them around. So you're able to hit these boxes and have them fly around the area. And then we also made a paintbrush, which was a pain to make because it turns out trying to draw lines in real time in 3D in Godot isn't the easiest thing. But it's a little bit hard to see, but there's lines that are there. I think that's it.
I may have missed it. Can you show the sword? Oh,
Oh
never
yeah.
mind, sorry.
Show the sword.
So I have a question for you here. I've built some VR apps in Unity on a couple of platforms, but I haven't used Godot before. Are there other interfaces to sort of get your experiences out into, say, WebXR or WebGL? Or, do you end up with executables?
So I believe Godot actually does export to web. I'm not sure how it interacts with VR if you export to web. But yeah, you just have executables that you can export to, I think. All right.
On Windows and Mac, I see you're on a Windows system.
Yeah, Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Cool.
While you're in there, it might be the Zoom stream. Is it really choppy for James in there as well, or is it like nice and smooth? It's kind of choppy
smooth.
just for us. Okay, I
I
figured.
think it's the Zoom stream, yeah.
I figured. I was just wondering.
Okay. I'll stop the screen. How do I stop screen sharing? I see pause. Is pausing stopping?
I can stop your sharing, Tyler.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Well, any more questions?
Looks like Matt said this works on Index and like
Oh, yeah.
the Windows headset. I forget what they call that.
Windows Mixed Reality and is what Matt has, and then I have a Valve Index that we were testing it on.
But it's pretty platform agnostic. It shouldn't matter. Like you could open
Yeah.
up an Oculus, a Vive, an Index, etc. It should work.
Oculus uses a different platform, so you might have to open like Steam VR with the Oculus headset and try that, I think.
I may have missed this too. I had to step away for a second, but I know one of your initial goals, because you told us, was spawning objects, kind of like Gary's mod.
Yes.
Did that happen? Did it not happen? If it didn't happen,
So
I'm just curious.
The initial goal was on your left hand, you were going to have a panel that you could open up to spawn objects dynamically, and that would load a bunch of stuff. But it turns out trying to get a UI in 3D is not as easy as we thought it would be in Godot. Or maybe it is easy and we just aren't understanding how to do it. So we had to scrap the idea and we ended up with a table for objects.
That's not bad. No one's really figured out UI for VR yet. It's still an open question.
Yeah, speaking of that though, Tyler, I mean, I also heard a couple of the check-ins and it sounded like, you were sort of at this point where you could play with stuff, but as far as the sandbox implementation goes, what would you sort of, apart from getting a chance to, explore and play with it, what are your takeaways from the weekend? Would you use it again? Would you continue working on this platform? What are the aha moments you had at the last minute you'd like to continue working on, that kind of stuff?
I really want to try and figure out how to make a UI either in Godot or like port this or try and make it again in a different system like Unity and see how their interfaces are different from Godot's and what's better.
Great.
All right, if there are no more any last questions before we move on? Seeing none, thanks Tyler. That's a really choppy VR stream, but you know, Zoom and
I
Alaska
don't know why that
Internet.
was choppy.
Zoom, Alaska Internet. But yeah, that's great. I should come play it someday.
You're welcome.
Next we have the Team DNF presented by Colin.
Hey, how's it going? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep, we can.
Okay, hey, so I've been working on lots of little side projects for years and years and years, and they've all been. I've been working on lots of little side. I need to mute something. I'm getting an echo here. They've all been.
Are you watching a live stream by any chance? Or yeah,
well, what I'm doing is I've got a live stream of the VR game that I'm working on, running from my headset here, piped through Facebook, and I just had to mute that because I'm about to show how that works live, see if that works. And I've got this, yeah, why don't I just share my screen right now? I'm gonna go to desktop 1. Okay, so basically, one problem that I've had is with goal creep and with feature creep. So this is an example of something that just kind of exploded into something that I would never be able to finish. It's essentially a 3D space sim that generates a solar system based on an evolutionary algorithm and runs the and does an n-body simulation for all the planets on the GPU. And it does this in JavaScript using something called gpu.js, which is an abstraction layer for GPU compute, essentially. And so you can see you can zoom out really far. You can use WebGL's, what's it called, logarithmic depth buffer. Everything is accurately to scale. That white sphere would be the about the size of the Milky Way. And if you keep going, come on. Eventually, you get to the red sphere, which is the size of the observable universe. So anyway, I'm very guilty of taking these projects and just blowing them up into things that I can never possibly finish. So one thing that I started a few months ago was an attempt to kind of restart all this stuff and to just say, hey, what you should do is focus on building a lot of small experiments, things like that. You can actually finish and in the process, build up sort of a toolkit or a framework that I can use to iterate quickly and build games. And so the idea is I'm just going to build a whole bunch of simple, small VR games, kind of throw them out there. And if any catch on, then I'll come back around and iterate. So this weekend, the goal was to take a VR Tron light cycle game that I've been working on for a while and to actually make that work a little bit better. Essentially, I wanted to break it out into its own project, but the problem was I ran into so many issues just getting my dev environment set up. Pretty much that's all I was able to do, and fix one collision detection bug while I was at it. So I'm going to show you guys what I got going here right now. And let's see, how far behind is that? I may have to, oh, okay, there it is. So essentially, I'm using 3JS as the 3D game engine for this. I've had a lot of luck with it. I like it a lot. There are lots of cool libraries. It makes stuff pretty easy. So basically, where are we? Okay, there's the snake game. So this is what we've got. Very simple. This even works on a phone. If you have Google Cardboard, for example, there are no input controls that are needed other than just the direction you're looking. You travel in the direction that you're looking and you accelerate like 1% every frame. And there is a collision detection bug. So that's what I got. I loved the opportunity to use this to finally get back into the game here. So any questions?
Very cool. Just around your previous simulation you showed us, Colin, when you say GPU compute, are you tapping into CUDA on NVIDIA, or is there like a lower level framework you're getting into there?
So I'm using something called GPU.js. Basically what that does is it allows you to write some pretty simple JavaScript equations and have that, it puts them into shaders essentially, just basic texture shaders, things like that. It's actually not using any of the compute libraries. I'd really love to be able to use some of these compute libraries directly in the browser, but it seems like they're perpetually getting pushed back. WebGL 2.0 compute is something that's been out there. It has some basic support in Chrome Canary, but once there is a real solid library like that for me to use, I should be able to speed that up quite a bit. There are all sorts of technical issues right now going with that, with the current implementation that I have, but it's still able to, let's see, I was running about 1,000 planets there in that last simulation in an n-squared algorithm at about 15 frames a second. So it's pretty fast, all things considered. I had another implementation of that in Python. Once I ported it over to JS, it was actually about 10 to 100 times faster, depending on what was going on there. So that shocked the heck out of me. But really, I just love the web platform. I love building out cool interfaces in there. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for fun, small apps that could be built, especially in VR right now, because there's basically no competition out there for the web VR space. With things like the Quest 2 that just launched, you're going to see a lot of people out there who are picking these up, and it's something that it would be pretty easy to get. I believe it would be pretty easy to get featured in some promotional materials that say Facebook has, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically my plan. Is I just want to, number one, create a bunch of cool interfaces, little games, things like that. And if any catch on, that I'll circle back around and continue to iterate on that game that actually started to have fun. A couple of the other things that I'm planning on adding in future games are, let's see, peer-to-peer WebRTC multiplayer. So that's something that should be pretty fun. I'll come up with probably a pretty small game to demo that sort of feature. There's lots of, that's my curse, right? I keep trying to add more and more features, and I never finished any of them.
Cool. So, Colin, can I pause you from adding more to the answer and like jump in with another question, which was this weekend. So you said that primarily what you got done this weekend was really setting up the dev environment around this. So the simulation you showed us with the planets was something you had already previously built.
That was something that was old, yes.
Yeah, and that was on the node, and then the snake game that you sort of showed, that was something you were able to at least maybe work a little bit on a collision detection bug this weekend. Didn't quite get the bug figured out, but
that bug was not figured out. But since the last time I had worked on it, there were a few issues with WebVR and WebXR polyfills that essentially I had to slog through and get all those fixed. I got those fixed sometime around maybe 1 or 2 o'clock today. Got everything, redeployed a new build out to Heroku. And
Awesome,
start
Colin. Just for fairness and for time's sake, I'm going to stop you there. Nigel, did that answer your question, or would you like to guide this somewhere else for the next 30 seconds?
No, that's great. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.
everybody.
Yep. So next we have Lit Past Gen by Adeline. Adeline, are you on the call?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome. Your 5 minutes start when you start your presentation.
Okay. All right, so I didn't bother making slides since this is only going to be 5 minutes. My code is on GitHub. It's currently private, but once it's finished, I'll make it public. Lit Past Gen is a Firefox add-on created for this event. Basically, I wanted something that would generate a potentially more memorable password than something like that, because that is not helpful. I'm not going to remember that, and I don't know anyone who would.
I don't know. We can't see
I'm not sure
whatever you're
what's
saying.
Yeah, we're just looking at your GitHub page.
Oh.
You may want to try re-sharing your screen. Try sharing the whole screen as opposed to a specific app.
Ah, okay. Okay, yeah, so this kind of password is the type that I'm not going to remember, and I don't know anyone who would remember it. It's unhelpfully complex, even though it's going to be a really strong password. So I have it loaded up into my browser as an extension right now. So it shows up here. I was able to get it there by loading it as a temporary add-on in the debugging page of Firefox. It does still have some issues, but let's move this over here. But it does show up. There's some different options for source text. I currently have 3. Custom text can also be added instead. Let's see. You can select 2 to 5 words from the text to create the password with. The generation rules, those don't quite work yet, but the idea is that you could replace all of the A's with @ symbols if you wanted to, either for the full password or some individual word in the password. You can also capitalize the nth letter for any of the words that are present. For some reason, the generate button doesn't work in here, but it does work if I just have the HTML page up. It uses a pattern of word, symbol number, word, symbol number, word, just alternating. There are some issues with it still, because right now you can end up having 2 numbers if you've got 3 words in the text. So it doesn't check to make sure that you have both a number and a symbol. It also doesn't check for duplicates. So you could end up with, let's see, yeah, you could end up with the same number or the same symbol still. Let's see. For this project, I did end up spending more time on the research than on the coding, which is why it looks like this. I usually spend more time on making it look nice. That didn't happen this time. For stretch goals, there's a couple of big ones. Like first, the UI, like making it actually look nice. And second, alongside this little generator text box here, I want to include an indicator of the security strength of the password. I'm going to base that on this table. And this was part of my reason for making the minimum number of words 2 and maximum 5, because you don't need a password that's 50 characters long. Like I mean, this chart even only goes up to 18. But right now I have it set so that the minimum number of characters you can have in one is 13. So if you meet all of these conditions, it'll take 2 million years. Let's see. All right, are there any questions?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I think this is a really great idea, and this is kind of how I make my master password for my password manager anyway. I was thinking though, I don't think the UI really matters. I don't know if you've thought about making just an API and then anyone can just call your server and it spits out a password like this. I don't know. That's something I was wondering if you were thinking about, because this is very useful.
Yeah, the reason I wanted it as a browser extension is because it's when I'm in my browser that I need for when I'm signing up for some new website. And so if it's just right there, I don't have to go to another screen or another window or anything else. I can just click it up in the corner and then click generate, assuming that my rules have already been configured, and just take it from there.
Great. The question I was going to ask Adeline was the randomization that you're using to sort of apply through the text you've got in there and pick out words.
It's just using the JavaScript math library for that.
Yeah, the only other thought I had was, this would be incredible for kind of seeding, default user passwords that are memorable, maybe whole phrases that are lifted from the text and combined with other phrases. That's been a technique we've used to have something that's memorable but also secure, since people can remember phrases 50 characters or more often. But this looks like a great project.
Thanks.
Yeah, a similar question to Bradley, actually. Kind of on the same sort of take, would some sort of criteria, as a future sort of step of this development, Adeline, would you be looking to build in things like memorability or some sort of other, algorithm that helps prioritize? It does feel like, there was it feels like almost any password generator out there tells you how secure the password is, if you know what I mean. It has a little bar and chart at the bottom of it. So it feels that would be something that would, would that be hard to build in? Is that something you could add on? Or is
looking
the
at
answer
the
that every
table,
password that's being generated just basically it's already secure?
so not every password generated with this is going to be as secure as others. That's part of where the generation rules come in. Because right now you can get passwords like this, and that's not going to be as secure as if all of the A's were replaced with @ symbols, or if the fourth letter in the first word was capitalized. But looking at this table, I don't think that the security strength checker would be too difficult, since I would just be checking against all of these different criteria.
Great.
Awesome. Again, for the sake of time, I'm going to cut it off there unless anyone has some really burning questions.
Just a really quick one, Ash, actually. Yeah, just
Sorry.
a really quick one. Yeah, that's okay. Adeline, so you started building this weekend, right?
What was that?
So did you start building this weekend, or was there some parts already pre-built coming into this weekend?
I started building this weekend.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Adeline. Next, we have Filmmate, presented by Robert.
Hi. This is a hardware project. It's a little bit different from the other ones, but this is kind of what I built this weekend. I'm going to try to switch screens right now. I'm not real good with this.
Ash, if possible, could you maybe pin Rob's video to make it bigger for everyone, if he's not going to be sharing screen?
Yeah, I can do that.
Or spotlight him, I think is the word in Zoom.
I will do that right now.
And that's my right in the middle of my screen. Basically, I built a hardware device. And, I'll go back one slide. Essentially, the problem I was trying to solve was I was filling fuel tanks on boats as prone to spills into the ocean. And the design of fuel tanks for boats is a lot different from fuel tanks from automobiles. The first thing is they're not pressurized, and there's a vent that allows fluid and air to escape. And when you're actually filling a tank in a boat, about a third of the time, if you overfill it, fuel just bubbles out of the vent and then goes into the ocean. The season mishap is caused by the difference in design. Filling in an automobile, usually you have that auto stop that immediately stops the flow of gas when it generates enough back pressure. A spill from any boat that produces a sheen on the water, no matter how small, is supposed to be reported according to federal law. You try to kind of listen for the fluid bubbling up toward the opening, but most of the time you really can't hear it. And the result is you kind of fall victim to this, and diesel spills into the ocean. This is a device. I was working originally with tides and pressure sensors, and this kind of shows the way this pressure sensor works.
I may not be seeing it. Is there slides being shared? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a video actually. Can you see the video at all?
No, I don't think we can. I think we got each slide share, Rob. So if you would.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
If you go to Zoom, there's a green button in Zoom with a share screen.
Yeah, for some reason it's not sharing the video. I'm not sure why exactly.
We didn't see any slides either, so if you're referring to anything, we weren't seeing any screen share.
Really? You didn't see any slides either?
No.
Nothing. Okay, 2 seconds. Let me see if I can get this going.
There's a green button at the bottom that should say share screen.
Share screen, I got it. And
you would have to pick the right screen, the right monitor.
Oh. That's a tough one. Sure. I get it. Is it sharing now at all?
Yep, I see your screen.
Ah, okay. Is it showing up there? Is that video showing up?
We see your mouse over a black screen right now.
Yeah, that's what I see too.
I think this is actually a feature to try and prevent people from sharing copy. Oh, there it is.
All right. Yeah, we see your slides.
Okay. I don't know why it's every time I turn it on, it seems to stop it. But can you see the video going on now?
Yep, we do.
Great.
Okay. Essentially, it uses a pressure sensor connected to a microcontroller. The pressure sensor assesses what the current atmospheric pressure is. And then as soon as you get any fluid movement into a tube, it immediately notifies you that you're having some problems. So I built these prototypes. The design is based on a really tiny sensor. And it's very, very accurate. It can measure up to like 1 inch of excess pressure in terms of water. For the hackathon, what I decided to do was I wanted to design and build a vent replacement for the boat that incorporated the measuring capabilities to tell you when exactly your fluid flow is going up. So it had to have 5/8 inch fuel connector, able to install up to 3/4 inch fuel. Flame arrestor, no electronics would be exposed, everything was epoxy. And the design had to be fully resistant to salt water and solar charge. The final design was done in Fusion 360. It's solar powered. It's got an on and off magnetic switch versus a mechanical switch that would cause sparks. It's 3D printed in PETG. The electronics are all epoxy. It's got a long battery life and low maintenance. Here's the final design. You can sort of see the cross section here. The nuts, the holding position inside the hull of the boat. And this is the waterproof design. This is the PETG pieces that came out. This is the magnetic switch that actually allows you to turn it on without being exposed to the ocean. And this is the solar charging. This is the internal thing. There's the microcontroller here. This is the pressure sensor right here. This is the reed switch for the magnetic control. Here's the battery. This is how you actually have to build these pressure sensors. They're really kind of delicate. This is the final product. You can sort of see you rotate these things to develop on and off. There's a power switch over here. And I'll play one of the videos here. I hope you can see it. This is the final design. You can see it will just rotate it, turns on, measures the air pressure, and then this tube can be any length. You just set it to any particular depth that you want in terms of your tank depth. And then as soon as it goes, the fluid goes up to a certain point, it'll alarm you and tell you. The fluid, the tube can go like 4 or 5 different directions. It doesn't really matter. This is the on and off system. And this is, last video I'll show you is actually how you would use it. This was the original prototype I built last week. This is how you fill a tank with diesel. And the tube actually goes to some particular set length. And then it just tells you when you're near full. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. Questions?
This was really impressive to me, at least. I don't know anything about 3D modeling or building things. I was just wondering, what all did you work on this weekend versus what you had previously?
The only thing I had previously was I had built the sensors for use in a modeling program for developing tides. So I was able to use the same microcontroller and the same sensor, but all of the design and all that sort of electrical work is all done this weekend. In fact, all the models just came out of the printer this morning.
That's great. And were the microelectronics all commercial off the shelf, or did you have any custom work to do in that area?
I do custom PCBs, but in this case, it's so simple. It's just an I2C connector communication for the sensor. And the solar charger is just like a $2 item. So the whole thing can probably be built for around $8. And of course, much smaller too.
So as a form factor, have you thought about integrating this into the funnel? Because it seems like having to monkey with the funnel and the sensor at the same time seems a little weird.
I 3D printed a tiny little holder that actually accommodates the tube. The main thing you don't want to do is compromise that tube with something like the filler nozzle. When you integrate it into the vent itself, it's kind of one of these things that's always there and always charged. Just turn it on. You know your vent's protected. And you know you're not going to throw anything into the ocean. This is an extremely common problem that people have. And that's why every boat dock has a huge oil slick near it. And this is either from diesel or from gasoline.
All right.
Yeah, Rob, I just wanted to congratulate you on building out a hardware project over the weekend. I think it's always really fun to see those two things align. So appreciate you showing that, and just wanted to say thank you as well for producing some pre-made videos with demos as well. I think it's a really pro tip, good thing for folks to do apart from slides is videos where someone's actually already created the demo and can show it through is great. So thanks for making all that work.
No problem. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert, for that. Next, we have Solomon with the AK Dev Alliance website.
Sure. I'm just going to go share my screen. All right, so this weekend I worked with Colin and Jeff and a couple others, really looking at our old AK Dev Alliance website and seeing what can be improved on it, almost like a full audit of everything we do from social media to the website to Slack. So you can see on this website currently, this is the old website. There's a couple of different call to actions. So if you're looking at it from a very zoomed out point of view, it's hard to know exactly maybe what you should click on or why you're even visiting the website. So it took a while to build out a good sitemap. Colin and Jeff really worked through creating a good document on some of the goals for the website as well as any major changes. And if we look, we transitioned from a WordPress to a Squarespace website to ensure that there's no need to host it anymore locally or on servers. So if we look through the three major target demographics that we're looking at is for developers, businesses, and economic developers. And we really hope that this website, in addition to integrations with our Slack channels, are able to connect the community more, but also allow people to get targeted messages that are relevant to the specific roles or areas that they fall under. So for example, for developers, we might want to put information about meetups, socials, hackathons, and boot camps. And this would be different if you're a business. It would be different if you're an economic developer. And some other areas of the website include maybe organization, partners, people who support the AK Dev Alliance, as well as the board of directors. So I'll just scroll through that. And then to get involved, we really want to focus on two major things: joining Slack and attending events. And I'll pass it over to Colin to talk about how we're integrating this website with our Slack channels.
Sure. So thanks, Solomon. It looks really good. So this weekend, I started playing with the Slack API quite a bit. And this is the first time I've touched it. So basically my goal initially was just to be able to authenticate and be able to just play around and just learn more about it. And then so I was able to start playing around a little bit with slash commands, playing around with incoming webhooks. And then I once I started getting the feel for it, I started developing actually this morning and trying to do a proof of concept where we were pulling a list of users' profiles from the Slack workspace, and then display that. And then based on the display, if you clicked on a name, you might get more information about the particular user. So I have a really can't share the screen, but the proof of concept isn't really all that great. It's really just me showing that I pulled some data out of Slack. Yeah, here. So here I'm actually going to a Lambda function hosted on Amazon, grabbing some data. It's actually grabbing a list of users, picking the first user out, and then displaying the profile for that. So I'm actually able to get out data. So some things that took me quite a bit more time today than I thought was really just dusting off the work I've done before using serverless to deploy a Lambda function. Trying to get is it Lambda proxy or is it Lambda or whatever, and so trying to get all that to work seamless took a little bit of time. And then trying to get React to do what I wanted to do was difficult. I'm used to Vue, and so trying to use React is like trying to speak in a brogue or something. So that took a little bit of time, but it seems like it's we're on all the data paths are now open, so now we can actually get data in. So that's kind of cool.
And one final example that we were thinking of is that Get Hired or Jobs channel within Slack to talk with to both directions, to the website and back to Slack. So if somebody posted a new job in there, we could link out to the website. If you're looking for a job, if you're seeing what jobs are available in the state of Alaska for people in the software, technology, IT industry, an easy way to do that, to work in conjunction with Colin's Slack system in order to pull that information and keep it very accurate to the website. So are there any questions?
Quick one on the, I guess, philosophically on the choice of Squarespace for the Dev Alliance. Do you think that it maybe reflects, in a certain way that the Dev Alliance is choosing to use, WYSIWYG kind of tool like Squarespace? And then second question is that how much work was there actually involved in, it looked like you were just porting a lot of content over from the existing website over into new, maybe a new layout, but more or less it's the same content, just in a different frame, or maybe didn't get enough sort of how much additional work was there in that website? So
sure.
Philosophy
start with the Squarespace question. For we originally were on WordPress, but Jeff had the idea to move it over to Squarespace. I'd be fine if we could take this template and either build it out in HTML, CSS, and add additional areas onto that. But I'm also fine if we take that and I see that if we're able to keep it very much up to date, if no one has to like host it on AWS, if no one has to host it personally or keep it like I think if everyone has the ability to change it, whether that's on a GitHub repo like we were doing last year, that'd be beneficial. And then for your second question, for work, Colin's Slack API that was done completely this weekend, and I ported a lot of content over, but also help with Jeff's help built out more of a sitemap. So some of the content is old, but where it's located is new this weekend.
So then in regards to the sitemap, how close do you think you guys are to being done on a sort of, if there was a percentage of sort of completedness right now?
I'd say we're probably like 80 or 90% done. There's a couple of cosmetic changes, but just adding a little bit additional content in there, and I think it'd be ready to publish out.
So another week of part-time effort, or a few more days, and
probably a week at most, and then to change it out.
Great, thanks.
All right, if that's the end of that, the next one is tricky. It is Baked Blessings website. I see Isaiah, you're online. Do you want to do a presentation, or should I play the video that Josiah sent me?
Josiah's gonna present live, actually.
Oh, Josiah, you're online. All right, it's all yours.
Okay, great. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll share my screen. Okay. Before I begin, I just want to say that I'm really grateful for this opportunity to join the hackathon, and also for all the leaders and mentors who helped my group the past couple of days. And so I worked on this project with my two friends, Isaiah and David. To give a little bit of background, we recently started a community project where we bake and send free homemade cookies to convalescent homes, hospitals, and homeless shelters. And we thought that this hackathon would be a great opportunity for us to expand and share our project by creating a website. Yeah, we decided to make this website so that people can learn more about us and get involved if they want in Baked Blessings. So far, we've donated to the Fairbanks Memorial Hospital, the Fairbanks Rescue Mission, and we're planning to go to Pioneer Home in the coming weeks, and maybe even to Nenana eventually. So yeah, On the first page, as you can see, we give a basic introduction of Baked Blessings, how it came about, and what we plan to do. And moving on to the next page, we kind of describe our story, our vision, and our goal in ultimately helping our community. And as you can see on the left, there's a picture of us delivering cookies to the Fairbanks Memorial Hospital. The next page is about meeting the team and all of the friends who are helping us with this project. You can see each one of their roles and a short biography of who they are and why they decided to join us. And lastly, we created, oh wait, no, sorry, that's not the last. There's 2 more pages. We created this page to give anyone who visits our website an opportunity to get involved in Baked Blessings, whether that be donating or helping us bake cookies or simply spreading the word. And yeah, for the last page, we included a contact page for anyone who wants to get in touch with us. So if anyone has any questions, or if anyone wants to request cookies for some groups or individuals that they know, they could contact us at the email address listed below. Yeah, so that's basically our website. And through this hackathon, we were able to develop our skills in website creation and design. We learned how to collaborate with others, and we also learned that working on projects related to computer science or just any other subject in general, it's a process, and how failing is also part of the process. Because at the beginning of the hackathon, we actually attempted to create some kind of virus scanner that could scan files and detect viruses. But we soon realized that that was beyond our capacity, just as 3 high school students. So after considering our options and getting advice from our mentors, we decided to switch gears and create this website. So yeah, that concludes our presentation. And if anyone has any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Do you guys have your own recipes, or are you just like buying pre-made cookies, or?
We have our own recipes and we make them all at our house. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
So I'd love to ask okay. Oh, well, right. Okay. Let's leave a comment and a question. So first of all, the comment is, you're really well done. Just like doing a project like this, I think at a time that we're going through in 2020, seeing socially relevant, socially minded projects like this come to life are really great.
Mm-hmm.
And when to see you sort of take that into the digital domain, like, really congrats to you and the team. I feel like you guys deserve the prize cookie regardless, right? Just doing this kind of work. So if there's any anyway, I can be of support. I'm sure the other judges and other folks on the call. This is exactly what we hack and should be hacking things towards, is trying to create things that are meaningful to society around us, right? And that's why we get into technology and engineering. This is great.
Thank you.
My question regarding the website is, you mentioned the get involved component and the donate. Did you guys use any integrations to allow for them to actually easily donate and give any cash to you? Links there right now?
Yeah, to be honest, we haven't really gotten that far yet. So we've created, at this point, if anyone wants to like get involved, all they can do is like contact us and kind of go from there. So yeah, in the future, if we would be able to make an easy way to receive donations, we'll definitely look into that. But for now, we don't really have an easy way. Yeah.
Great. And then if you had another week, what would you do next?
Yeah, if we had another week, I think we would be able to kind of make it more easy for people to get involved. And Yeah, just solidify the website and all the information. Yeah, because 3 days, it wasn't a lot of time to kind of think about what this will do in the future, I guess. So.
Thank you.
I just had 2 quick questions. First,
Okay.
so you guys are not CS students. It sounds like you're high school students. Are you interested in being CS students, or I guess what was the initial goal for joining the hackathon? And the second was, since you guys are new to this, what drove you towards Wix over Squarespace versus a plain site? All the different options. Why did you choose Wix out of those? Just curious.
Okay, well, for the first question, we're high school students, and we have some background experience with computer science. Some of us are taking, well, for example, I'm taking computer science A right now, online, and my 2 friends, they're taking computer science principles. So yeah, we're just kind of learning the basics and kind of getting introduced to computer science. And for the second question, honestly, I don't know. I just looked up like easy websites to create my own website, and I just saw Wix and I thought might as well give it a try. So there wasn't really like a specific reason why I chose Wix over Squarespace or anything else, I think. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering because I see them advertised often. I wonder how you choose between the 2. That's
Right.
good though. I think, like Nigel said, this is a great project.
Thank you.
All right, that's our last presentation.
You just see Ash just chewing cookies down right now, right?
I have food in my mouth, but that being said, I'm going to keep the Zoom call on. I'm going to switch the stream over to something neutral. I do see some of the judges are already discussing stuff, but I'm going to give you guys some more time to figure stuff out and discuss more. And while you all do that, I'm going to keep the Zoom open for social stuff, letting people talk about what they're drinking, what they're eating, and the experiences for weekend or whatever. So yeah, judges. There's a judges channel on Discord, so if you guys want to hop in there and do like a voice or video chat.
Ash, as we're already on here, maybe you can just throw us into a breakout room.
I guess I could throw you in a breakout room. Let's see how this works.
Yeah.
All right.
This is all new to me. I don't use Zoom ever.
Yep.
So hopefully this all works.
You press the button when it comes up.
Yep. So I'm going to define anyone I know as a judge into a breakout room.
Good job, guys. Though all these projects are really interesting.
Yeah, that was a ton of labor. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I
was seeing the chats pop off.
All right, I'm going to put you all in a breakout room, and as the host, I'm going to swap between the 2. And raise your hand if you need me.
So what was it he told us to talk about?
All right, so
what we're drinking and what we're
while the judges debate and stuff, I'm just gonna keep the Zoom open and I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch the stream over to so that we aren't streaming this. But yeah, just I don't know. It's social hour until the judges tell me that they're ready to present the prizes, I guess.
Josiah, what recipes do you have for cookies?
I had the same question.
Sorry, what was
I gotta
that?
get these recipes.
Oh, the recipes. Well, I'm actually not like the one baking the cookies. It's one of my friends. So you would probably have to ask him. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But he makes like
Why
chocolate
aren't
chip
the
cookies, oatmeal raisin, M&M cookies. Yeah, they're pretty good.
You guys should publish that recipe on the website.
Or sell a recipe book and then collect the money as a donation.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I guess to get a conversation going, what any suggestions
Say
for the
something
weekend,
controversial.
or like, yeah, just what do you all like? What do you all not like? What should we do for next year?
No eating on camera.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
switch you all to galley review so I can see everyone.
Oh, how do I do that?
You can see all the eating.
Gallery view.
Yeah.
Cool.
This was our first ever like virtual hackathon. We had one last year, but because of there wasn't a pandemic, so we did it non-virtually. So it was sort of easier, I guess, in a way, but also harder in a way.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was a fan of the virtual format.
In the absence of an alternative, I think I'm okay with it, but I definitely found it a lot easier to get immersed last year when I was not in my living room.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more fun last year.
No, I
You could
agree.
just vibe off people's energy and like people doing physical stuff like hardware. There was all that like pie stuff spread out. Like that was super cool. I mean, obviously, you guys did an amazing job, but I missed it.
Yeah, I agree, Vanessa. It's yeah. To be fair, this was easier for me. Like I got to sleep, I got to like eat, I got to like do everything.
The lack of company participation this year was weird as well.
Yeah, I feel like without themes and without that company participation, I was a little bit lost.
Yeah, the teams were interesting. I mean, last year most of the prizes we gave out were away from our teams anyways, so like we decided not to do teams this year.
I think some kind of guidance, like if you're going to give out prizes and you're going to judge people to decide who gets what prizes, it would be really good to know what the judging criteria is. That way I can be pedantic about it.
That's interesting feedback, yeah. Truth be told, hold on. Let's just announce all the prizes and then have them, I guess, have first, second, and third choose their prizes then. I don't know how this is going to work. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen. A breakout room? Okay. I don't know who all are who though.
Chemical waste basically from happening. I thought that would really help.
Alright, so who are the top three? We had, what teams are these?
Philmate, Concave, and Key Perry.
Alright, so I got Caitlin, Robert, and
Jeremy Swartwood and Max Franklin.
Okay.
I believe. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah. So you guys had any comments on the top three, or did you? So
That's a lot of people that you moved.
What did I do?
So they got moved to the other conference room, and yeah. So Arsh, if you just follow them, then you can have them check their prizes. Yeah.
All right, Arsh sent us the wrong chat.
Judges, you guys should just leave breakout room 1 and then I'll join breakout room 2.
We just did.
Yeah, we all.
Alright, folks. I'm gonna share my screen. Gosh, I totally forgot who got. I'm gonna trust y'all to tell me who got first place. Give me a moment. Alright, so that's my screen. So which team got first place?
That'd be Robert who got first place, right?
Alright, Robert. Which one of these prizes would you like?
Wow. I have my choice.
Yep.
Oh, God.
From row 2 to row 14.
Oh, my God. Oh, this is cool. Portable power bank. Bluetooth headphones. A drone. Oh, wait a second. No, wait. What kind of 3D printer is it?
That's a great question. Let's see what it is.
Wow, there's a lot of planning that goes ahead of all this.
Really?
I'm going to guess it's this one.
Okay.
That would be my guess. So it's that'd be my guess based on what I know. I think it's plastic and it's not resin.
No, it's not a resin. Huh, weird. Cat. That's weird.
Yeah. That'd be my guess, but who knows? It's a 3D printer.
You know that. Hey, you know that nice high school kid that did the that website for the cookies? I forgot his name, but they did the cookie website.
Oh yeah, the cookie website. Yep.
Yeah. Can you just give him the gift? Because honestly, I don't need any of this stuff.
Well, okay. I mean, he's getting $100, but we could potentially give him something.
Yeah, just give him whatever you're gonna give me, because really, honestly, I just don't need any of this.
Okay. All right. That's go make that note there. Thanks, Robert.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, good.
All right. Oh gosh, I'm gonna go on. Who said second?
They told us it was concave, which was us. Max, you can go.
Let me do something real quick.
Max, you go first. You pick.
Oh gosh. Wow. I don't know. There's so many options. I guess